The first thing I heard from my wife after 2 months on the road wasn't hello. I stood in the bedroom doorway with a rolling bag and a box of Naperville chocolates I didn't even like, and from under the comforter came, "I have a headache." No turn of the head, no smile, just a flat line delivered to the ceiling like I was a neighbor who wandered in. "It's me," I said, then regretted saying it. "Obvious. Please, not now. 2 months, Meg. Your absence wasn't that hard." That was the moment the temperature dropped for good. The alarm loaded in my stomach. I set the bag down, placed the box on the dresser, and watched a woman I knew by the layout of her freckles refuse to look at me. I stayed standing. She kept breathing like I was air conditioning noise. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have slept at a Marriott that night and saved the sheets the insult. I tried to reset in the morning. Coffee. Eggs. I cracked hers separate out of habit. She used to swear she could taste when the yolk broke. She came downstairs in a robe, bypassed the stove, and poured only her cup. "You want breakfast?" I asked. "I already ate at my desk," she said, tapping her phone. "Same kitchen, different planet." I set my plate aside. "We need to talk. I have a 9 a.m. with the regional team," she replied, holding the mug with 2 hands like a shield. "Don't make this a thing." "It is a thing. I'm not in the mood for a performance." She turned like the conversation had hit a wall only she could see. "Who is he?" slipped out. First time I asked it in 10 years together. First time the word even touched my tongue. Megan's face didn't twitch. Just nothing. Silence. Then, "I have to go." She left her plate clean and me with the noise of the fridge. That was the start of the ghost routine. She brewed for one, ran a washer for one, filled the dishwasher like my plate carried a fee. If my shirt landed on the chair, it became invisible. She moved through the house as if we'd signed a lease to ignore each other. It went on 4 days. We did the same orbit, the same quiet stomp the neighbors probably read as calm marriage. She spent evenings on the patio scrolling, answering messages with that tight grin you use on strangers. I spent mine at the dining table, sending vendor emails and pretending the hollow in my chest was jet lag. On Friday, the weather pretended to help. Sunday, wind from the west. No reason to be inside. I set 2 mugs down on the counter. She walked in, opened the fridge, closed it, and turned to go. I reached out to stall her with a fingertip to her forearm. Minimal contact, nothing dramatic. She wheeled and struck me, open palm to my cheek. Not a shove, not a flail. A clean, decided slap. "Don't touch me," she snapped. I said don't. I stood still, palm flat to the cold counter. The sting wasn't the point. It was the choice. "Okay," I told her, voice level. "Boundary observed." Her breath sawed for a second. She expected the explosion, the plea, the whole predictable male scene. I took my hand off the counter and spoke like I was booking flights. "We do it one of 2 ways. Either we talk honestly, or you celebrate your birthday at your parents' place without me. Pick." "That's ridiculous," she shot back. "It's adult. You vanish for 8 weeks and then start issuing rules. I work." That's what the 8 weeks were. I kept my tone steady. "I'm not a punching bag, words or otherwise." She blinked twice, recalibrating. "I'm tired," came out next, soft, almost sympathetic. "Work's a mess. We've got quarter end and a new guy forgot to lock out a file. I've been the plug for everyone. I shouldn't have, okay? I shouldn't have snapped." There it was, the flip to syrup. Her eyes went wet around the edges, voice lowered half an octave. She even stepped closer like proximity made it an apology. "Understood," I said. "I prefer honesty to theater." "Don't do that," she whispered. "Don't make everything a test. Then we'll talk tonight." "I'll try," she said, and kissed the air near my shoulder on her way past. Light, performative. The first soft mask. If it fooled me, I let it sit for an hour. Then I moved by my own rule. Stop waiting for warmth that isn't coming. At her birthday barbecue 2 days later, the yard looked like she had stolen a Pinterest board. String lights, 2 outdoor heaters, a cake that required a spreadsheet. Coworkers from Baxter and North filed in with bottles and compliments. I grilled and smiled and answered polite questions about travel as if my face hadn't caught a hand that week. Megan floated, laughing a microsecond too slow at every joke, guiding people like a host who needed it to look effortless. "You know Daniel's always gone," she told someone from HR with a tilted smile. "We work around it. It's a skill." I plated skewers and counted faces. The new names mattered. Which one was the gravity she'd been orbiting? Who carried more attention than anyone else? Halfway through, her younger sister Hannah arrived late in a denim jacket and sneakers that had seen real sidewalks. Hannah is 5 years younger, smarter than she gives herself credit for, and allergic to costumes. She hugged me quick. "You good?" she asked into my shoulder. "Fantastic hostess we have," I murmured. She said, reading my voice and my cheek. "She's observant to the point of rude. Always has been." An hour later, I was at the sink lining up tongs and scrubbing trays when Hannah slid in, closed the sliding door behind her, and tipped her chin toward the hallway. "Kitchen," she said. 2 minutes. We stepped inside. The house smelled like citrus cleaner and foil. She kept her voice low. "I'm not here to stir anything. I'm here because you've treated me like family since I was 20, and I can't watch you get walked." "Okay." I borrowed Meg's phone to take a picture of the cake. A message popped up from D. It said, "I can't stop thinking about last night." She didn't dramatize it. She didn't exaggerate the letters. She just delivered it like a fact. "D," I repeated. "Devin." She mentions him too often, with too much casual. He's not her boss. He's close. That's my read. I rinsed a plate. Water ran. I kept my breath even. "Thank you. Do what you will with it," she said, eyes narrow. "But don't go off half-cocked and give her a story to sell." "I don't do half-cocked," I told her. Megan's laugh spiked from the yard. Someone shouted cheers. Hannah looked toward the patio, then back to me. "She's trying to look like the steady one. Don't hand her a reason to call you volatile." "I hear you." Hannah hesitated. "She's my sister. I'm not choosing sides. I'm choosing the truth. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong." "You're not the problem," I said. "You're the solution that hurts." She blew out a breath. "Then be surgical." I was. On Monday, I drove to Baxter and North at noon with a set of containers from a deli and a crisp white bag that said "delivery" in handwriting. The receptionist didn't blink, a guy in a button-down carrying lunch blends with office carpet. I knew the floor from Megan's Christmas photos. I knew the logo. I knew the door to the bullpen where badges were an honor system at lunch. "Order for Devin," I said to a woman by the copier. "Men's room," she said without looking up. "He's coming back." "Perfect." I leaned on the frame, waited 20 seconds, and watched a guy in a navy tie and the kind of hair that takes time exit. Late 20s. Gym arms. He looked at the bag, at me, at the bag again. "I didn't order," he began. "Let's talk." I cut in and nodded toward the restroom. Now, I wasn't loud. I wasn't threatening. I said it like a manager who's already set the calendar invite. He glanced around, confused, and followed because people do. We stood by the sinks. The hum of the hand dryer filled the space for a beat. I let him look at me. I let him measure whether I was selling insurance or trouble. "What is this?" he asked. "Question," I answered. "What do you have going on with my wife?" He started the standard script. "I don't know what." "Your options are simple," I said. "You tell me the truth, and we're done in 5 minutes. Or I walk out and email HR a summary of what you've been up to with a married coworker during business hours. Your keyboard time has footprints. Their server logs have eyes. You choose whether this lives here or there." He tried to laugh, but it landed weak. He gripped the edge of the sink. "I didn't, it's not." "Truth," I repeated. I glanced at the mirror. My face read calm. My chest was steady. In my pocket, the voice memo app blinked its little red pulse. Devin caved faster than I expected. "People like him hate risk." "It's been a few months," he said. "We started when you were in your last trip. It wasn't supposed to be. I mean, we didn't plan." I didn't flinch. "Where?" "Hotels mostly," he said, flushing. "I know how that sounds. It just—" "Thank you," I said, and pocketed the phone. "That's all I need." He reached out like he could pull the words back. "Wait, you can't." "I can do exactly what a man does when his home gets downgraded to a waiting room," I told him. "You won't hear from me again unless I have to make a process point to your employer. Go back to your desk. And avoid public bathrooms for confessions next time." I left him with the paper towel dispenser humming. No scene. No shouting. Just the clean sound of a door opening and a choice registered. Back in the car, I replayed the memo once to make sure it was clear, labeled the file with the date, and drove to the river. That evening I met Hannah at Mercury on Riverside, a wine bar where the lighting flatters tired people. She wore the same jacket, and ordered seltzer. I slid into the booth, set the phone face down, and nodded to the server for a burger. No wine. No toast. You got something, she read on my face. I pressed play and let Devon's voice do what my suspicion couldn't. Hannah's jaw flexed once. She didn't gloat. She didn't say I knew it. She just watched my eyes while that kid admitted a project he wasn't qualified for. When it stopped, she breathed out through her nose. Okay. Thank you for telling me, I said. I didn't do it for thanks. I know. What's your plan? She asked, leaning forward, elbows on the table like a coach. No more reacting to mood swings, I said. No more trying to get back into rooms she keeps locked. I'm going to move one step at a time, by my clock. I'm going to stop being available for tests. I'm going to salvage my time and my name. Hannah nodded. You going to tell her tonight? No. She performs when she's cornered. I don't want a show. I want a result. That's you, she said, almost smiling. Boring in the ways that matter. The server dropped food. Hannah sipped her seltzer and watched the door like she expected someone to burst in and accuse us of treason. You need anything from me? She asked. Just keep your distance from the blast, I said. You don't owe me a role in her story. She'll write one anyway, Hannah muttered. Let me be clear, Daniel. If she starts spinning you as the cold workaholic, I'm not clapping. You don't owe me that either. I owe the truth, she said. And I'm not switching that debt. We finished quick. Outside, the river moved like always. I walked her to her car and went home to a house that smelled like lemon and stage calm. At 11, Megan put on jazz. Not the radio playlist either. She selected something slow enough to telegraph intention. Then she came down the stairs in a black satin piece that probably has a French name on the tag. It would have worked on me last year. It didn't now. She swayed into the living room with a tumbler of something she didn't sip, set it on the coffee table, and leaned on the back of the couch facing me. Hey, she said, can we not be strangers? We can be honest, I answered. She crossed to my side, ran a finger along my shoulder, then trailed it down my arm like she was dusting me for prints. I miss you, MM. We've been off, she went on, voice at bedtime volume. That's on me. I've been overwhelmed. I shut down when I'm overwhelmed. You know this. What I know is you hit me when I touched your sleeve, I said. Then you baked a cake for an audience. She lowered herself onto the couch next to me, crossing legs just enough to draw a line. Let me make up for that. I'm not interested. She blinked, the confusion not fully faked. Excuse me. I don't want you. Her hand went still on my forearm. We're married, Daniel. We were. She sat back, lips pressed. Don't be dramatic. Don't be theatrical, I countered. This is a performance. You turned on a soundtrack and costume to manage optics in your own house. Is that really what you think of me? It's what I think of tonight. She tried a different register, softer, close to tears. We can fix this. We've come back from worse. Maybe not worse, but we can get back to the team. I want that. You want control, I said and stood. You can have the living room. I'll take the guest room. Daniel, don't walk away from me right now, she said, voice rising a notch, the jazz track swallowing the edge. I'm walking toward the only peace in this house. I picked up my phone and the book I hadn't finished on the plane. Good night. She watched me go with that glare that says, you're not playing your role. I closed the door to the guest room and slept without dreaming. In the morning, I showered, put on a jacket, and drove to the courthouse. I didn't announce anything. I didn't hint. I slid papers across a counter and did what grown men do when the ground is finished. On the way back, I stopped by a print shop and opened a box account. If you want to shake hands with your future, you pack your past well. I made a list of things to move and times to move them. That evening, we had dinner at the Bradleys, mutual friends with a patio and two golden retrievers who love anyone who carries a plate. 10 years of gatherings there had trained my face to look pleased. We sat with 4 couples, laughed at the same neighborhood jokes, and ate grilled salmon like nothing in the world could break. Halfway through, Megan raised her glass. To Daniel, she said, smiling warm enough to frost glass. How's it feel? 2 months without closeness. Did you enjoy your quiet little hotel life? A few chuckles, a few glances around the table that said, we shouldn't be hearing this. I put my fork down. Hotel pillows are terrible, I offered. You know that. She cocked her head, eyes on me, expecting me to play the guilt card, to scramble. The table went still in that way groups do when something sharp has been said on the table. Hannah, God bless her timing, dabbed her mouth with a napkin and spoke clear. Maybe he's just tired after last night. The sentence hit like a well-thrown dart. It looked casual. It wasn't. Heads turned. Megan's smile held for a beat too long, then cracked. Her eyes snapped to Hannah, then to me. Can we talk? She said to me, too sweet. Privately. I stood. Of course. We left the table like civilized people and walked to the sidewalk. She didn't wait until we were past the hedges to hiss. What did you tell her? Nothing, I replied. Don't play games with me. I don't play games. We drove home in silence. She gripped the wheel at 10 and 2, the way people do in movies when they need to make a point. I looked out the window and ran through the list of what I would say. I picked the shortest version. At the door, she whirled. What was that? She demanded. At dinner. That line. Hannah knows more than your Instagram followers, I answered. About what? About D. Her mouth opened, closed. Office chatter. That's all it is. You know how people are. I spoke to him. She flinched. Who? Devin. At work? She laughed, a clean, sharp sound. You stormed my office? That's insane. I didn't storm anything. I brought lunch. You're unbelievable. She paced 2 steps. If you recorded anything, that's illegal. That's obsess. I pulled my phone from my pocket and set it on the table. I don't need legal debates from you, I said. I have what I have, and I heard what I needed to hear. She shot me a look like she could burn a file with it. It's office gossip, she tried again. People say things when they feel pressure. He could have been talking about a project. You don't know context. It's been a few months. Started when you were in your last trip. That was the context. She sank onto a chair, then straightened like she remembered the posture she prefers. She stopped. She restarted with a faint breath. While you were gone, I felt alone. I needed someone to be present. That's all. There it was. No apology. No ownership. A practical admission wrapped in the blandest words she could find. The respect that had been eroding finally hit zero. I'm glad you found what you needed, I said. I'm not that man anymore. Don't you dare act like you're blameless. You were gone. Always gone. I was working for us. For the house, the yard, the vacations you posted pictures from like a job. I kept my voice flat. But let's not turn this into a debate club. It's over. You're not ending this, she snapped, riding the volume now. We can go to counseling. We can delete numbers. We can set rules. People recover. People do. I looked at her. We won't. You don't get to make that call alone. I already did, I said. The documents are filed. Silence. Not the comfortable kind. The kind that lands like a stamp. Her eyes flicked to the hallway as if paperwork might be physically there. She found nothing. She looked back at me, demanding, bargaining, recalculating. The math didn't change. I don't accept that, she managed. You can undo. I'm not undoing anything. You're punishing me. I'm protecting myself. I picked up my keys. By the way, HR at Baxter and North will get an anonymous file tonight. I'm not interested in ruining anyone. I am interested in a record. What they do with it is their problem. That's vindictive, she said, voice dropping. It's accountable. You realize this could put me on leave. It could put me on remote. You'll adapt. You're good at adapting when there's an audience, I said. I'm finished being your audience. She stood, hands at her sides like she was holding invisible bags. So that's it. 10 years, and you just walk. 10 years and I stopped standing still. I corrected. Say something real, she pleaded. Not this corporate goodbye. Here's real, I said, stepping closer so she heard the tone the building never heard. You hit me. You froze me out. You mocked me at a dinner table. When confronted, you tried 3 different masks before you landed on a half-truth that cost me the last bit of respect I had. I'm not mad. I'm done. She shook her head, trying to find one last lever. We can fix. No. I took the spare key from the bowl by the door and set it on the entry table. The sound was small and final. Tomorrow I'll pick up the few things I care about. You can keep the rest. Consider it a parting gift. You can't just. I can, I said and walked out. In the car I sent a single email from a new account with a file attached and a subject line that contained dates. I didn't include names beyond what the recording already contained. I didn't editorialize. I didn't sign it. I hit send and put the phone face down. By noon the next day, Devin went out sick, which I later recognized as administrative leave. By the end of the week, Megan's calendar read remote more often than it read conference room. I didn't celebrate. I organized. Movers came. I boxed my books, my tools, my photos with the guys from college, the one watch my dad left me. I carried myself through a checklist like a man pulling cables out of a dying machine. Megan swung between sugar and stone for 48 hours. She tried the penitent routine. I was scared. I messed up. She tried the attack. You ambushed me at work. She tried the partnership bargain. We'll set rules. Weekly check-ins. No travel without a plan. I didn't bite. Each time, I cut it short. I'm not available for that, I said once, and it became my refrain. Hannah stopped by when I was loading boxes. She leaned on the door jamb and watched me tape a label to a bin. Need help? She asked. I got it, I said. She's calling mom and dad, Hannah warned. Pitching you is cold. The story is you've given up because work changed your soul. Work does that, I said. To both of us, apparently. You want me to correct her? You do what allows you to sleep. I'm not campaigning. Hannah nodded. Good. Campaigns take more lies than you own. 2 days later, I moved into a rental across town with a garage big enough for a workbench. I slept on my own mattress in a new room and realized how light a bed can feel without performance next to it. Megan texted twice. We need to talk today. No, we don't. You're making a mistake. I've made a decision. Then came the extended play, long messages, bullet points about hope, words like rebuilding and growth and foundations. She didn't mention the night with Satin or the slap or the joke at dinner. Those vanished. Her favorite trick, reality revision, ran into my favorite trick, non-participation. A week later, I met the guys from my old basketball run at a bar that pours a decent rye and keeps sports on mute. Brad, our host from the dinner, clapped my shoulder. Heard there's turbulence, he said carefully. The plane has landed, I told him. Need a couch. I need a quiet Saturday. He grinned. We can supply half. We watched a game, we talked about traffic like bored dads, and I didn't mention Megan's name once. It was the most peace I'd felt in months. The HR email did what HR things do, slow motion with a sharp end. Devin's status went pending internal review. Megan was reassigned to remote, then to a different project temporarily, which in corporate means for as long as we need it to be. Again, I didn't celebrate. I didn't send a screenshot to anyone. I didn't repeat the story to make myself feel taller. I didn't need to. 2 weekends after I left, I ran into Hannah at the farmer's market. She was buying coffee beans and arguing with a vendor about grind size like a pro. We walked a loop. She's not doing well, Hannah said, because sisters feel obligated to update. I didn't expect well, I answered. She says you blindsided her. I sent up flares for a week, I said. She closed the curtains. Hannah studied me. You look less tired. I am. Seeing anyone? She asked like a sibling would. Seeing my house get organized, I said. Seeing my credit card bill go down. Seeing my weekends open up. That's enough seeing for now. She smiled. Fair. A month passed. We did the paperwork things that dissolve a life, utilities, titles, accounts. There were no plates thrown, no public scenes, no midnight calls. Just signatures and a silence that finally meant peace. I put a down payment on a small place near the river with a crooked maple in the front yard and a garage that let me build shelves without measuring twice. I started running in the mornings before work. I answered calls from my brother I'd been pushing aside. I got a secondhand truck that smells like somebody else's dog and decided it was mine now. I didn't avoid grocery stores near Megan's part of town. I didn't lurk near the old place. I didn't check her social media. Once, a mutual friend mentioned she was focusing on herself and taking time off to recalibrate. The office thing had knocked her sideways. The boy had faded. The project had slipped to someone less radioactive. I nodded. People recalibrate. Schedules change. Consequences aren't personal, they're just the bill. The last time I saw her was at the end of summer, at a light on Washington where kids sell lemonade and people forget to signal. She was in her car, hand on the wheel at 10 o'clock like always, staring straight ahead. The radio made her lip move. She didn't look over. I didn't honk. The light turned green. We both drove. If you're waiting for a grand line, here it is. I didn't win. I just stopped losing. I didn't get revenge. I got quiet. I didn't fix her. I fixed my schedule. I learned that you can be right on paper and wrong in your gut if you keep staying where you're not wanted. And I learned that once you say enough to a person who runs on control, the entire stage collapses under their feet because the audience left. Now I wake up in a house where every room is the right temperature. I cook for one and like it. The guys come over on Sundays for ribs and a game. And the only joke about me is how I overdo the dry rub. I'm seeing someone, slowly. A woman named Laura who teaches high school math and refuses to inflate anything. We go to breakfast places where the waitress calls everyone Han, and we walk the river after. I don't paint her as an antidote. She's just a person who says what she means and holds eye contact without trying to win. I hear about Megan in the margins. She's still at Baxter and North, but at a different desk. People don't come by her cube as much. Remote turned into hybrid, which turned into obscure. Her Instagram got quieter. That's not my news anymore. I don't tune in. My favorite thing in the garage is a pegboard with outlines for each tool. Everything has a shape it fits now. Everything has a hook. When I hang the hammer, I don't think of anything except how it lands in its place. On the day I moved fully out, when the last box went into the truck, Megan stood on our old porch and watched the space I left behind. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She looked like a person who realized the script only works if the other actor shows up. I closed the hatch, walked around to the driver's side, and said the last true thing I had. Take care of yourself. She lifted her chin like that meant something else. I got in, turned the key, and drove away. That's the whole story. No fireworks. No speeches. Just a man who stopped participating in his own disrespect and made it to the other side with his face forward. You can call it cold if you want. I call it warm-blooded sanity.